Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and today we gotta talk about Cenk's nephew deciding that he's gonna give away clothes on Skid Row and film it to put it on his Twitch stream. Now, to be clear, giving away clothes is actually something that I'm fully in support of. It's something that I do pretty often, but normally the way that I do it is I go to a clothing drop box, I drop off the used or unwanted clothes, or even sometimes brand new clothes that I've never worn or don't fit me, so that they could be distributed to those in need. And now, one of the things that I don't do is actually film myself doing this, because I don't need a lot of social credit for being nice to people that are less privileged than I am, because I'm a normal person. And I highly recommend, if you're going to give away clothes, you do it in this way, so that way people can come up to the central location, to the church, or to wherever, and get what they need, something that fits them. And I think it's a more efficient way in order to distribute these materials to needy people. However, Cenk's nephew decided that he was going to bring this stuff to Skid Row, he was going to give it out, and there was a little bit of a plot twist there, because it turns out a huge portion of this was him deciding to make fun of Ethan Klein by showing us that the homeless don't want his wife's clothing line, the Teddy Fresh clothing line. So it's kind of amazing that this person would think to mock Ethan in this way and use the prop of homeless people on Skid Row in order to do so. And that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
So right off the top, many people in Cenk's nephew's own audience are very skeptical of his plan to give out clothes to the homeless people in order to film that and post it on the internet.com.
Why are you going to Skid Row? Because why you think? Because we want to help people. That's it. That's the reason. And we want to humanize homeless people, especially at a time when homelessness is surging. And violent acts against homeless people are also surging. And a lot of that comes from dehumanization.
And he gives a bunch of reasons defensively on the back foot on why this is a good thing. First and foremost, he says he wants to humanize these people. I don't see homeless people as inhuman. This guy has a weird perception that other people see them as non-human, when the fact of the matter is, the dangers that homeless people can sometimes present are wholly human dangers. He also says that attacks on homeless people are on the rise. This is just ridiculously stupid and untrue.
And violent acts against homeless people are also surging. And a lot of that comes from dehumanization and people refusing to recognize that these are real people who are victims of the oppressive structures that we all exist under, and that many of you are closer to them. Many of you are closer to them than you are to the likes of Elon Musk, myself included. Other billionaires are closer to homelessness than they are closer to Elon Musk. So yeah.
If anything, the people committing the violence against homeless people are in fact homeless people themselves. In fact, we've done study after study where we've gone over the data, and what we end up discovering is that homeless people with mental illnesses are far more likely to attack other people, other homeless people, or non-homeless people than they are to be victimized by criminals. And all the different various studies that say that homeless people get victimized more never actually tell you, even though it's in the data, the people that are reporting on this, that the people who are attacking them, the people who are victimizing them, are of course other homeless people. So it is perfectly sensible and perfectly reasonable for us to be aware of the potential danger of these people and not pretend that they're just, oh my god, we're so much closer to them than we are to Elon Musk, and Cenk's nephew is so much closer to them than he is to Elon Musk. And obviously what he's trying to do is the little mathematical trick, because Elon Musk is a billionaire. A billion is 1,000 million. So when you have multiple billions, obviously you're further away in terms of raw dollars than you are from zero. But the fact of the matter is, Cenk's nephew is at the point in his life where just through regular ordinary investments in an index fund, he should never go broke. If you have that much money, you should be perfectly fine. And the majority of people are not like that. So he is in a different section, a different class, if you will, than your average ordinary person, in that he should be able to stop working immediately right now in his early 30s and not go broke ever. Like at any point. And again, this is just with regular ordinary investments that track the S&P 500 or track the total stock market. Regular index funds that you could invest in, but since you don't have enough upfront capital, you haven't built up to that level yet, you can't live off of the compound interest just today like Cenk's nephew can. So to be clear, you are not close to Cenk's nephew. He is nothing like you. He lives a lifestyle that is nothing like yours. And even me, who doesn't have the ability to just stop working and live off of the money that I've already earned, am also separated from many of you who don't have super high incomes or don't have reasonably high incomes. Again, I do pretty okay for myself. I'm not a millionaire. I'm definitely a thousandaire. But the fact of the matter is, it would be very ridiculous for me to present myself as some victim of society or somebody who's on the cusp of going broke, when in reality, that is not the case. And it would have to be a couple of different bad instances that left me in a terrible position. But in reality, many of you out there in my own audience are people who have fewer instances between you and going broke. So I think that's important for you guys to understand that this fake "I'm just like you" kind of nonsense from Cenk's nephew is ridiculous and absurd from top to bottom. And in reality, you don't have the time on your hands to donate clothes of your former podcast host just to show that the homeless people at Skid Row don't want the ugly clothes that are designed by his wife.
As the eminent house owner, socialism is when no house, so we're gonna go visit real socialists.
So then, of course, we have Cenk's nephew still sensitive, still hurt about the fact that people constantly bring up the fact that he has a $3 million house in Los Angeles, in West Hollywood, that is quite nice. And he says, oh, socialism is when no house, because he has to strawman the criticisms of himself. And we're gonna visit the real socialists. And obviously, people aren't saying that you won't have some kind of dwelling under a socialist society, but what people are pointing out is that Cenk's nephew is against private property. Cenk's nephew is against people owning excessive amounts of property, and this guy has a more expensive house than other figures in digital media that he's criticized as being grifters. And a perfect example of that is somebody like Jimmy Dore, who owns a $1.9 million house. That's the one that he bought, which is a full $1 million less than the one that was purchased by Cenk's nephew. He also has criticized Anna Kasparian for grifting to the right when Anna Kasparian lives in a condo. So Cenk's nephew in a $3 million house, he's like, oh, well, that's fine. That's a socialist lifestyle. Leave my private property alone, while he advocates for taking away your private property rights. In addition to that, I will also point out, if you had a large multi-bedroom home and you were struggling to pay your mortgage and you decided that you were going to rent out your room because you need the extra income, you became a small landlord, Cenk's nephew would be against that. He'd say, oh my God, you're using a home as a mechanism in order to generate income. You're absolute scum. So this guy, who has the luxury of not needing to take in rent from people that may be staying at his house, is somebody who's criticizing broker people that happen to be homeowners that use those methods in order to get by. So yeah, Cenk's nephew, shut your face. It's a $3 million house. We all understand that that is a valuable investment for yourself. It is obviously luxurious. People have seen the photos, and the idea that you're going to constantly downplay this and plead poverty to your audience is ridiculous and absurd from top to bottom. And by the way, if I owned a home, I would be very proud to own a home. Right now, I don't. It is a goal of mine, but I live in a 2-bedroom apartment by contrast, since we're all pretending that we're super poor. Now, of course, it's a nice apartment. It doesn't heat up well in the winter, which, by the way, is terrible for New York City. So my electric bill goes super high in the winter, and I'm still wrapped in blankets all the time. But other than that, it's actually a relatively nice place that I'm happy to have, and I'm appreciative of you guys out there in the audience that allow me to work from home and have a nicer home than I previously had for the majority of the length of this YouTube channel. But again, let's move into Cenk's nephew getting very, very upset because people don't want him to film and exploit the hobos.
Take your Porsche to Skid Row. We're not. We're taking the Camry. But I mean, for 2 reasons. One, because I think it's definitely a weird look if I was to fucking roll up to Skid Row in a Porsche. And secondly, it doesn't have enough trunk space anyway for all the shit that we are bringing over there.
So I love the fact that somebody brought up that Cenk's nephew should bring his Porsche to Skid Row, you know, his $250,000 special edition Porsche that he says, oh, it's perfectly fine for him to own it because, again, socialism means no car. Is that what you're trying to say? Obviously, he's entitled to own a car that costs more than the homes of people that are in different various parts of the nation, and you guys should just shut up about it because unlike you, who actually produce in the world, he earned that money complaining about capitalism. So everybody shut up, and he's definitely not going to bring that Porsche to Skid Row to deal with the hobos.
That's awesome. You're going to help the homeless directly. Just be a bit careful. Wait, what? Oh, we're working with a local organization, obviously. Anyway, as far as that chatter saying be careful, I don't think that chatter meant be careful because homeless people are violent. I think that chatter meant be careful with like how you film. Obviously, like there is like it's not going to be exploitative. That's something that I am like very worried about and very aware of. Don't film it, maybe. Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! You're the woke of the day. Isn't it inherently exploitative to film? No, you dumb fucks. The entire point is humanizing these people. That's the whole point. Can you just shut the fuck up? Please, can all of you just collectively shut your stupid fucking woke mouths up? Is that okay? Can we just shut the fuck up collectively? Sounds like a write-off. I am going to Brian kill me.
So it's funny because Cenk's nephew gets warnings about being careful, and he's like, oh, you mean be careful how you film? And then people say don't film, and he's like, again, the entire point is humanizing the hobos. He's just trying to make everybody in the world understand that homeless people are human beings, because without Cenk's nephew, without him descending from Mount Olympus, you would not be able to understand that those are human beings that have fallen on hard times, are dealing with mental issues, and of course are likely dealing with drug addiction. Thank God for Cenk's nephew, such a great guy, such a humanitarian, for assisting them by doing this and making maybe 100 times more than he spends on clothing, because he's streaming the whole thing and receiving donations from all the people who are like, you're so charitable, Cenk's nephew, you're such a great guy. Again, if you want to help the homeless people, do that. Go put the clothes in a clothing drop box. Don't film it. Don't make a big show of it. And if you are going to make a big show of it, be ready for the criticism of you making a big show of it. By the way, criticism that Cenk's nephew has leveled against people like Mr. Beast for providing medical care or other things for people that are in desperate need.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are currently on a journey through the treacherous Los Angeles streets to make our way to a retail store that I will not be naming, in order to purchase some much needed things for the unhoused population of Skid Row. If you noticed, there's also bags and bags of clothes back there. Those are some of my clothes. I mean, they're all my clothes.
Funny enough, not the most cramped I've ever been in your back seat.
Yeah, because we're in the Camry.
It's very spacious. Toyota Camry.
2010 Toyota Camry Sport Edition V6 with the heated leather seats. Just,
very nice.
Yeah, just so you understand. This is, I am a Toyota man. Forever.
Now, of course, Cenk's nephew ends up taking a Toyota Camry, and in the backseat of said Toyota Camry, there's a very large bag of clothing, and this clothing appears to be, according to many a people, the Teddy Fresh bag of clothing. And this is stuff that he's received from Ethan Klein, stuff that obviously he didn't like. And to be fair, one of Cenk's nephew's only good takes of his entire life is that the Teddy Fresh clothing, not all that nice. I'm not appreciative of it. It looks weird. I would never wear it, and I think it's completely overpriced. But he's going to give out that clothing later on to the hobos, to the homeless people, because he's going to prove that even they don't want those clothing. Now, in addition to this, I will also point out that he talks about the Toyota Camry in a very weird way. He says he's a Toyota guy and all that, and Cenk's nephew is oftentimes, and I hate to use this phrase because it's thrown around a lot by the lefties, a dog whistler. He's often signaling to his audience. So I think it is quite notable that ISIS actually claimed, or people claimed, that Toyota specifically is the vehicle of ISIS, and Cenk's nephew loves terrorist organizations. He calls them resistance fighters. So to him, the idea that he's a Toyota man might mean a little more to the audience that some of us are not picking up, but that's why I'm here to pick up these little drops and these little hints for you guys.
Well, first of all, if you want, we have a bunch of clothes and we have a bunch of tarps and stuff here as well. Okay. But we wanted to ask you about your experiences being in and out of the shelter structure. And if there are any, because there's some common issues that we hear about in with regular frequency, but it's important to get like a personal experience.
Okay. So what would be one common issue that you would consider?
I think, well, some of the most common are obviously violence, theft, mismanagement in general. And then I think like the fact that you can't bring your stuff with you in certain shelters and, you know, your pets. I feel like that's what I hear the most.
But there is one that you haven't said. What's your cooking anymore? Drugs.
Oh, that too, yeah.
Mental health.
Yeah.
Those are two. That's
so
those are the real issues that make it so complicated.
Yeah.
Because you have a whole street of people living on a street on any common block. They all get water, electricity, not a problem. But down here, something's different. Drugs is the number one. Mental health, that's second. Those are the common issues.
I feel like those two go hand in hand. It's like people self-medicating. It feels like after being out for a very long time.
And I only mention that, Hassan, so that we don't skirt the common issue that's really the prevailing where the other ones can be dealt with. With drugs, that's a different problem.
So this is Cenk's nephew very awkwardly talking to a random homeless person, somebody who seems to be a bit more put together, and trying to say, oh my god, people are demonizing you, but you're a person, right? Aren't you a human being? Aren't you a human person, despite the fact that you're a black vagrant that I would never let anywhere near my own personal home? And the guy sounds pretty normal and pretty straight up, and he's like, yeah, I'm a person, but you forgot about issues like drugs and mental health, and I don't understand what's going on right here. I know I agreed to be on camera, but you're really weird. Also, and I think this is quite notable, and I don't really know why this is occurring, so if anybody has a good solid answer, I would love for that to be left in the comments, and I'm genuinely asking, what is with the mask? They are in California. Again, it is relatively warm in Southern California compared to the rest of the country, even in winter. But they're wearing masks in order to interact with the hobos, even though they weren't wearing masks prior to this. We saw the footage from them in the car. So is it they're trying to humanize the homeless people, but also it's so disgusting to be around them that you need a filter to separate your air from them? I would never think of doing something like this, where I'm wearing a mask in order to protect myself from the hobos if I was trying to help the homeless people. Like, to me, this is like a weird disconnect, and almost all the nonprofit workers appear to be doing the same exact thing. So maybe it is a procedure that they have, but it's a procedure that I actually don't like. And I understand if there's an actual medical risk or medical necessity or some kind of increased or elevated danger from the hobos that they suggest that you do this. But the fact of the matter is, the whole tone and tenor of this segment is that the homeless people are just like you. You're closer to them than you are to somebody who's stable and wealthy and successful. Therefore, you should be able to interact with them without any issue because there are no problems with the homeless people. But again, what flies in the face of that is that they're covering their faces to interact with them, something that was not being done just moments earlier, or, you know, like 45 minutes earlier in the stream when they're setting up this premise.
Yeah. What do you need? You need pants? Okay, pants are a little freaky though. They're my pants. I'm sorry. So I got these. You like them? Hey, take them. I got these. What do you think about these? You like it? There you go. Oh, you want something smaller? Nah, it's all my shit. So it's pretty big. I'm sorry. Oversized is the meta though. That's like hoodie? Yeah.
Yeah, he just said that. He did just say that.
So here we get to the point of the stream where Cenk's nephew is going into the trunk and he's grabbing different various things, and we're about to see him start handing over the Teddy Fresh stuff, but I wanted to leave this part in because I do think that we should be fair, because even though this is exploitative, even though Cenk's nephew is making way more money streaming about how generous he is than he's actually giving away to these homeless people, and even though it's weird that he's wearing a mask, he actually does show us a good reason for why they went out and purchased clothes earlier, and that is because Cenk's nephew is something like 6'2", 6'3", so he's going to be larger than the average homeless person that he encounters with, so a lot of the clothes are going to be too big. And of course he tries to joke around and saying, hey, oversized is the new meta, it's perfectly fine, but he is sorry and he's apologetic due to the fact that the clothes that he's offering, a lot of them, especially the pants, don't fit the individuals that are in need. So I do want to give him credit right here, because he actually did think enough to go out and buy additional clothing, but of course this is completely undercut by the fact that the very next thing that he's trying to show you is that even these filthy, wretch homeless people don't want the clothes designed by Ethan Klein's wife. And no, I'm not joking about this. This is a big laugh line just in a little bit.
I got button-up shirts if you want that. I got like a polo shirt.
Somebody just put over top of it.
There you go.
I think that's it.
No problem.
Yeah.
You got button-up shirts there?
Button-up shirts, yeah. You want button-up shirts?
Yeah.
But they're crazy.
Let me see.
What about this one? It's got croissants,
Yo.
sandwich. No, you don't like that one? All right, hold up. No problem. What about this one?
Nope.
Nope, you don't like that one? All right. This one's got the devil on it.
Give me that. Yeah.
All right. You don't want that. You don't definitely don't want that. What about this one? This one got money on it.
Hey there, how you doing?
You like it? All right. Oh, good.
Listen, I'm not gonna lie to you guys out there in the audience. This is in fact hilarious. And yes, those Teddy Fresh shirts look ridiculous in every possible way. And there is some humor in the fact that homeless people in dire straits don't even want these clothes that sell for a premium. But to be clear, the reason why this is funny is because it's an instance of beggars being choosers. It's like when somebody has no luck with women, they strike out all the time, and then you ask them about the appearance of an attractive woman, and they say that she's too fat. And then you look at her and you're like, she's perfectly fine, not fat at all. And you think to yourself, how does this guy who has no luck with women, can't talk to a woman if you offered him $1 million in order to seal the deal, have this high of a standard, have this high of a view of himself? So the joke is, these people need clothes, but these clothes are too garbage for them to want. And that is what Cenk's nephew is portraying right here. And he's essentially exploiting a nonprofit to do so. So again, while there is some humor in it, the fact of the matter is, it's a humor that I can understand. It's a humor that you normal people can understand, but it's something that Cenk's nephew often pretends to be above. Let's be clear about that. I mean, it's wild. If you replay some of these clips, if you listen more intently, one of the things that you'll realize is that the guy behind the camera is laughing. Everybody that Cenk's nephew brought with him is laughing. And it feels like the people that are participating with the nonprofit, the organization that he's partnering with, are none the wiser to the fact that it's this scheme. And there is something, again, that is humorous and admirable about the fact that Cenk's nephew is this petty, that he wants to stick it in Ethan Klein's face this much, up until you remember the fact that the reason why he had the falling out with Ethan Klein is due to the fact that Ethan only bent the knee to him 98% of the time. All he asked for was a little bit of respect going in his direction, and this of course was over the Israel issue. And to be clear, Ethan Klein, even though he is of a Jewish background, is not somebody who could be described as remotely pro-Israel. He again bends the knee to the Palestinian cause and their talking points 98% of the way. The only thing that he was a bit upset about was the fact that Cenk's nephew was defending his friends that were calling for the wiping out of all the Jews in Israel. That's where he drew the line. He was like, okay, like I totally agree with the Palestinian cause, but can you not call for a second Holocaust? And Cenk's nephew was like, challenge impossible. We're no longer friends, and I'm going to continue to try to attack you and to exploit homeless people in order to do so. Again, I want to know what you guys think about all this down in the comments below. Do you think I'm being too generous to Cenk's nephew because I'm giving him credit for giving clothes to people? I'm giving him credit for being thoughtful enough to realize that he had to buy clothes for smaller people because he's much larger than many of the homeless people that he was going to encounter? Or is this all just an elaborate mask, much like the ones that they wear on their face whenever they deal with real poor people, and this was just about mocking Ethan Klein in the end? Again, let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below. If you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me marveling at the wonders that is Cenk's nephew. Till next time.